Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's press conference. Bulldogs are coming off a 45-44 overtime victory over Wofford on homecoming. We'll close out the season on Saturday at Chattanooga, kickoff 1:30 p.m. Here to talk about the Bulldogs, head coach Brent Thompson.
Thank you, John. Certainly, Saturday was a much better day for us, much better day. It was homecoming. It was a beautiful day out there. And for the first time in a few weeks, I just didn't think we went out there and did things that were going to cost us the football game. I thought we were able to create a couple of turnovers, and those were probably the difference in the game. Destin Mack had a fumble recovery and an interception that was two really key, turning points of the game when we had opportunity to go up and at least get closer in the score. We got down pretty quickly there. But we were able to battle in there. We hung in there as best we possibly could. We didn't turn it over. We didn't have many crucial penalties. Special teams was fairly good. And at the end of the day, we made some plays. Jalen has 2 scrambles out there and scores 2 touchdowns on both of those, something that he's rarely done this year. But we found McCarthy on one, and then we found Cooper Wallace on the other one. So it's good to see us just out there enjoying it, playing our style of a game. I thought we ran the ball fairly well. We were able to get a couple of play actions in there, trick plays in there, and battle as long as we possibly could. And I got to hand it to Wofford. I think those guys came here ready to play. They're well prepared. They are banged up, kind of similar to the way that we are. But we played a really good Saturday afternoon game, and it was just good to be a part of. Questions? Well, one thing is those guys, they didn't quit. And, a lot of people give up on you when you're having such a rough season like this and you're going through all your ups and your downs. And really the Sanford game was a tough game. We just hurt ourselves in so many different ways that it could appear at times that you just kind of gave up on the season, which wasn't the case at all. I knew of that because I see the way that they go out there and they practice every single day. And, one thing that I always know about our guys is we don't give up. We may not perform to our best. We may not give it our best. We do have our bad days out there. We've got to limit those. But they fight, and they fight to the end. And just as I said, I thought Wofford did as well.
Yeah, you won the road this season. What would a road win at Chattanooga, like a 2-game win streak to end the year going into the offseason? What would that mean for you in this program?
Well, there's a couple things there. We had our opportunity. We had the lead in the fourth quarter when we were up there 2 years ago, so I'd certainly like to go back up there, play well, get ourselves a win, go into the offseason with a win. As you said, I think it just creates a little bit of momentum, getting our guys believing that, hey, this is we're on the upswing right now.
Your guys going off Chattanooga, how do you trust on that running game, especially forward?
Yeah, you watch Lim Ford, and he's a tremendous back. They've got another back that's just as dynamic in a different way. Lim's going to go on there and he's going to pound out yards for you. So we've got our hands full with that. They're going to put in a tight end game in there. They're going to try to grind out as many yards on you as possible. So we've got to be equally matched. We're going to have a physical week of practice, and we're going to have to do our best. Now, it was good to have Anthony Britton back. I think he was a little bit hindered by the club on his hand, but he'll get used to playing with it.
Coach, this will be, I think, 19th game in a 10-month period where you usually have spring practice and 11 games. What's that been like? Is it taking a toll? What's the whole thing been like?
It has. It's taken, and really I think it's for a developmental program, as we're always going to be, and I always try to explain that to everybody, is we have to take guys that are going to be developed over the course of 2 and 3 years. And playing football is good, and it's always helpful to play football, but there's also a time frame that is needed to be able to take those guys from sophomores to juniors and freshmen to sophomores. Those are the critical development years for us that we've missed. We haven't had a full off-season cycle just yet. The 7 weeks in the summertime is starting to wear down a little bit on us. The 7 weeks was good. I think it helped us out in the beginning, but our guys are pretty beat down a little bit right now. Of course, the fair share of injuries that we've had. I know Wofford's had, I think he said he had 22 season-ending injuries, something like that. We're probably quite a few ourselves. So it has been tough. It's been it all depends on what cycle you're in. For us, as our cycle was the 2020 season when we had Brandon and Sean Thomas Faulkner and a lot of those guys. Those were older guys for us. When we started over last spring, we were going to really have to develop all of our younger players, which has been good that we've played a lot of football there, but we certainly need to get in the weight room. We need to get conditioned again. We need to build our off-season program, which is kind of what makes Citadel football. You know, there's a toughness factor that we've got to bring back, and we've got to bring back in this off-season. Our juniors haven't even really been through a full off-season.
Coach, I know the defense, just being able to make that last stop there at the end, they were kind of the ones that have been letting you down at times this season. What's their confidence level at after having a performance like that, making that last game-saving play?
Yeah, you know, I was concerned because of the two running backs. I think they're very dynamic. And then Alec Holt, of course, did a really good job against us in the first half. Tony did a good job, and Orlando did a good job of adjusting the secondary a little bit to take Alec away a little bit in the second half. But it's still hard to take away those two running backs. You got to defend the whole field when you are RPO and you have a lot of different. They have a little bit of an option game in there. So, yeah, the defense struggled at times. We were able to get couple turnovers. I think the third quarter was our best quarter on defense there. Then they kind of figured it out and started to pound the ball back at us a little bit. But at that point, we had at least crawled back into the game. So, you know, without Willie in there, our defense is taking a hit. Without Chris Beverly in there, our defense took a little bit of a hit there. So we're trying to figure out all the different pieces still. And it's kind of reminiscent of last spring when we were just trying to add guys back into the roster, into the lineup that may not have played that position or so. So Andy Davis has been going in and out of linebacker and safety. And that's where the challenge has been more than anything else. Confidence level-wise, I mean, we can get that back, have a good outing. You know, we played well against Mercer. We played okay against Sanford on defense. We just got to figure out a way to get some stops this weekend.
You mentioned Willie and Chris. I know they were like the lifeline of that defense. Who's kind of stepped up to be the leader on that side of the ball within that?
Well, Dalton Owens has always been one of those guys. He's a quiet leader in there, but he's quietly having one of those years. He's disrupting in the backfield. He's a big presence in there. A guy that you really wouldn't notice until you really look at the film. On the front end wise, I think he's playing extremely well. Marquise Blunt's playing well. Hassan Black has kind of been in and out of the lineup too, playing well with Brian Horn. So our outside linebackers have stepped up a little bit. And then Andy's been huge just because he's had the inside linebacker, the safety, and then, of course, the guy that I mentioned, I think, has probably had his best year overall, and that's Destin Mack. You know, he's had 3 or 4 interceptions, a couple fumble recoveries. He's been the guy that we've been able to count on the most.
Is Dominic Poole a true freshman?
No, he's a redshirt freshman.
Just talk about recruiting him and his development.
You know, Dom's a fairly under-recruited. He was a guy that played baseball, played football, can do anything on the offensive side, can do anything on the defensive side. A little bit of a projection like we talked about. And I think he's really just taken to it. The summer that he spent here on campus working out, training, I think Dee Delaney kind of helped him out. Dee was here working with him a little bit from what I understand, and it was easy to kind of see how those guys gravitated to Dee and Destin. I think Destin's taking him under his wing pretty well.
Now, I guess going back to Justin's first question. Obviously, in some of the games earlier this year, you get down by 2 or 3 touchdowns and can't come back. Just kind of what can you say about the way your team was able to come back, and kind of what do you think that could do kind of going into Saturday?
You know, one thing I told him going into the game was don't worry what happens. We're going to be okay. Is the one thing that I thought has gotten us every single time that we've gotten behind is we've gotten down on each other. We've gotten down in the game. We felt like we couldn't battle back. We felt like we couldn't come back. And that's, I said, with us, it's mostly mental. Is if we can overcome our own mental obstacles, we're going to be just fine here. And that's exactly what we did. We stuck to a game plan. Felt like we were moving the ball well enough on offense. We get stopped on a 4th down. We punt one other time, and that's really about all we had. Other than that, you know, you just feel like you've got pretty decent control of the games. The running backs ran extremely hard. Jalen, as I said, even when things weren't there, he actually made some plays that bailed us out of some bad situations. So you feel like hopefully you've turned the corner with the team that, hey, no matter what happens, just stay in there, hang in the fight, and you'll be just fine. And really, we just needed something to go right, and we did. We got the turnover at the beginning of the half.
Going back to the 19 games thing, do you, after the season, you go right back to your regular schedule, or are you still reacting to what you've been through?
Jeff, I think we have to get back. I think we have to get back to our regular schedule. So it won't be nearly as bad because we'll have this Thanksgiving break, and then we'll have just about a week or two where we'll do a couple of things, but we won't get back into the weight room probably hardcore back into January. But it will be a different type of training for us. Is typically in January we try to build as much as we can for spring ball, and then after spring ball we kind of build ourselves ready. But we got to build some more bulk and mass. We're going to have to probably take a good solid 8 weeks in the weight room this spring, broken up by spring football, and build a little bit more than we have physical mass, because I think that's what we're lacking right now. The one thing that we've been able to do is stop the run, and at times I feel like we've gotten pushed around up front. I feel like we're a little bit lighter, not as strong as we probably could be or usually are at this time. And not that it's Coach D's fault or anything, it's just a matter of the timing. The 7 weeks in the summertime was just about enough to get you through.
Obviously, you're playing to win this weekend, but you're also assessing, I think you said every single week you're assessing talent. I know Jeff asked a question a couple of weeks ago about the scholarships and trying to figure out who's going to be here, who's not going to be here. When you're assessing and you're trying to see who you're going to play, have you had any conversations with those guys who have the option to stay, or do you just deal with that after the season? You just kind of make your game plan and play?
We've had to have the ongoing discussions about that, and some things just change, right? The season kind of wears on you a little bit. There'll be 1 or 2 guys that probably won't come back. There may be one guy that surprises you and does come back, but we've also had to have a plan in place for some of these guys going in, because if you're going to be a master's and you want to graduate with a master's degree out of here, you got to figure that into your scholarship count, but you've also got to figure that into what are you taking next semester for your classes. So there are certain guys that we know we've already planned for it. And on the other end of it, on the flip side of that, as I told Jeff, is we still have to keep the program going. Right? We still have to feed it from the bottom up still. So there are some guys that are going to transition out of here, and there's going to be some guys that we're going to have to recruit and sign. Probably not as many as we normally would, but that's still okay. We still need an influx of about 10 to 12 guys or so.
So sign day is coming up in December. How are things going toward that, and what number do you expect in December?
I'll anticipate us signing between 6 and 7 probably, and then maybe 3 to 4 more in the February signing period. Feel good about where we're at right now. We've got a lot of our needs met so far with our commitments. There'll be probably looking forward into the spring. It'll probably be a couple of offensive players in the spring signing period in the February one, and then maybe 1 or 2 fifth years that would take place in the spring.
What are your top priorities, position-wise for December?
Safeties. We're going to need to replace some guys in the secondary, because Chris Beverly is going to be in his last year next year. Andy Davis is going to be getting older. He may be in his last year next year. He's going to be able to graduate. So we're going to have to replace a couple of those guys. Destin Mack will be in his last year next year. So we're going to have to replace the secondary first and foremost, safeties and corners. Outside linebackers, we're in pretty good shape. Inside linebackers, we're in good shape. We may have to take a D lineman or 2. We took 3 last year that we think are going to be pretty good players. That's definitely going to be a need on the defensive side. Wide receiver and A-back on the offensive side will be the 2 positions that we are going to focus on, and we'll, of course, we'll take about 2 to 3 offensive linemen.
Sergeant Bass saw the field on Saturday. What's his, season been like in practice, and could he become a contributor?
Yeah, he definitely could. As I've always said, he's physically gifted and talented. He's got a great attitude. Football's still a little bit relatively new to him, but we're just running him down on the kickoff team, which is one of our goals, was just to, hey, let's see what he can do on a special teams, where we tell him exactly what to do, run down there and go find that guy and go get him. Can he do some things at fullback eventually for us? Well, he's certainly talented enough. We're getting him in there in some live situations, which I think is what he needs. He needs to kind of feel where everything's going to be at. And if it's not there fullback, we're going to try something. We may just try to move him on defense and see if we can put him in a package over there.
I guess while we have you, I know that you beat Georgia Tech a couple of years ago. Your thoughts on basketball winning this past week at Tech?
I tell you what, I'm extremely happy for Duger. He has worked extremely hard. It was a great win. I was excited for him. The first thing I did was text him and congratulate him on it. I know how those games go, being a part of 2 of those, an SEC and an ACC. I know the feeling that you have when you probably are winning games that you shouldn't win on paper. And I think it's great for his program. It's great for his kids, but it's also great for the school too. All right, thank you guys.